week 9. Now, of course, we have our test coming up at the end of the week, so I'm not going to overburden you with a huge amount of new material. We'll cover this business of working with images, uploading, storing them, and displaying them, right? And then we'll just do a little thing on publishing to Azure. We'll save that. We won't do that today. We'll just get this image stuff done and out of the way. And that way there's time for people to ask questions or look for help or any questions about the test or the project work that's going on when we're done. Okay, so fortunately, we've already talked about and seen how we can upload files, right? Any kind of file, PDF file, Word document, Excel spreadsheet, and so on and so forth. Any kind of file, we can upload it. And actually, we've seen we can, with different choices, we decided for now, we're going to look at storing these in the actual database itself, right? Good in many ways, maybe not as good as some other solutions in other ways, but it works, right? So we've gone through all that. So what is different about images? Basically nothing, at least not much of anything until it's time to actually display them on the screen, right? That's where it gets a little bit more interesting. Now, another thing about images, when we upload them, like I'm sure you've experienced this yourself. You pull out your cell phone, you take that nice picture of the fall leaves turning color, et cetera, et cetera. You have your phone set on a beautiful detailed image setting, and you download the file and you go, what? I can't believe it's that big. Absolutely, right? Now, there are times when you're going to be developing an app where it's critical to save every bit of detail in the original image and the original size and everything else. No problem, right? We can definitely do that. You just upload the file, save it, and away you go, right? However, if it's an image that you're going to be actually displaying, showing on the web app itself, then odds are that you're much better off to put some constraints on the size of the image, right? And why save a huge, massive image if you're only ever going to display it in a much smaller format? So it just makes sense that we sometimes want to take control of an image that we upload and maybe shrink it down. Try not to lose quality if that's at all possible, right? But we do need to take a big picture and shrink it down to a little picture. So there are lots of different tools out there that we can download and utilize, many of them totally free to use to do this kind of work. Now, I'm not going to try and teach you. It's a good thing because I don't even know that much about it, the whole aspect of graphics manipulation, right? But fortunately, there's some other smart people out there besides us who have done a lot of work that we can just piggyback on top of. A very popular package is the Skia graphics library put out by Google. I don't know if it was created internally or if they just bought a company that called Skia that did it. I am really not sure of the history. I could look it up, but I didn't take time. But fortunately, a lot of nice .NET programmers have taken the Google Skia library and done a SkiaSharp implementation of it that we can freely take and include into our projects and use it. So there's an awful lot in this SkiaSharp that it can do. Huge amount of capabilities and so on in terms of all kinds of advanced graphics manipulation. Feel free to come in here, look at all the documentation for it and so on and so forth, right? And learn all you want to learn about it. Absolutely. There's all kinds of stuff it can do. But all I really need right now is I need to be able to take big pictures and make them little pictures, right? So we're going to just go through the steps of getting this available first of all, and then in step 15, we'll actually see putting it into practice and using it, right? So before we get there, let's just talk about this whole business of the graphics manipulation. So obviously I'm going to have to do an install package first of all. So, oh, by the way, I do have a copy paste file. Now it's scary, okay? But let me reassure you a little bit. The code in here, it's like a hammer, right? You don't know have to know how to actually make a hammer to pick one up and use it. Or maybe a better illustration is driving a car, right? You don't need to know everything about the mechanics of how a car works to get behind the wheel and drive it, right? So yeah, there's some code in here that looks a little scary, but fortunately, we're just basically going to utilize it, okay? So I've actually got inside here, there's some notes and comments, explanatory stuff too. But then there's basically two different methods we're going to call upon. We're going to shrink the image. I'll get this into Visual Studio. Then I get color coding and everything. It'll be easier to look at it there. Plus, we don't get these weird, funky looking characters as well, right? So let's get it into Visual Studio and I'll talk more about it there. But the point I was making is we don't have to understand everything that's happening inside the SkiaSharp library to use it, right? So it's just going to be a utility we're going to add. So let me come back to Visual Studio then. Maybe first of all, we'll get the actual extension in place. So I'll come down, as we often have done, to our Package Manager console. And down in here, I think it's working today. Remember the other day I tried to show you the code completion. Remember, this is a PowerShell interface. It doesn't have IntelliSense in the same way that most of the other areas of Visual Studio have for us, but it does have code completion. So if I start typing, right, and hit the tab key, then it'll look at what I've got so far. Oh, is this what? Yeah, install package. That's what I want. Okay, SKI. Is that enough? If I hit tab, look at that. It's even suggesting SkiaSharp. Perfect. That's exactly what I want, right? Nice. It's good that it worked today. I don't know why it didn't the other day. Maybe it's just my computer was too busy doing other processes and it said, no, don't have enough computing power for that. There we go. So there we are. We've installed the latest and greatest version of SkiaSharp. All right, so now we're going to look at using it. So for that, earlier on, we already started this. We put it organized in this folder called utilities. We have our cookie helper, our other page size helpers, and so on. So it makes sense to me to put this little resize image utility in here as well. So I'm going to right click and we'll add a class. Now I've got my copy paste file open, so I'll just get the code out of here and we'll just leave out that block of comments at the very top, and you should be pretty safe to select the rest. At least down to the next double dotted line. Okay. Uh, oh, I'll call this resize image .cs. R-E-S-I-Z-E. Yeah, I think I have that spelled right. Okay. All right. And here is the code. So again, don't be too scared. Okay. By the way, that red underlining goes away because the system is smart enough to automatically look and say, hey, you've got this SkiaSharp. It looks like you're trying to use it. So we'll add the using up here. Very good. All right, so I have my resize image class, and actually, as I said, I've got two different methods in here. Okay, let me just shrink down the actual methods because we don't really need to worry about what's inside there. Okay, let me just talk about the code itself and how we're going to use it, right? So I've got two different methods. Now, truth is, at this point, I'm only going to use the one. I only threw in the other for completeness, just so you'd have it available down the road if you want to do something more advanced. But what I'm saying for now is I'm going to make a couple of assumptions, right? I know what assumptions do. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to assume that I'm going to consistently save all my images and work with them in a particular format called WebP. Have you heard of WebP? WEBP? Anyone? It's like JPEG or PNG. It's just one of the newer image formats. Again, we can credit Google with this one, I believe. Basically, it, while maintaining the same kind of high quality image, allows you to store it in a much smaller amount of data, so smaller files and so on and so forth, right? So it proved to be very, very popular. There's no reason I can think of in the world not to use it because it gives us the most bang for the buck, so to speak, in terms of storing the image, right? So this one is designed to always just return it in the WebP format. Okay. Notice we pass in the original image, the byte array. Ooh, byte array of the uploaded file. Think back to what we just talked about before the break. When we upload a file, that's basically what we do is we take the content and we store it as a byte array, which in the database with SQLite is stored as a blob, a binary large object. That's a data type in the database itself, right? Okay, so we pass the byte array for the original image in, okay? And then optionally, we can pass in a max height and max width. So I've got some default values, so if you don't specify otherwise. This is a pretty small, that's how many pixels high and pixels wide, right? So that's a suitable set of numbers I've kind of come up with over a bit of use that I find works fairly well for like a thumbnail. You know, that little image, hold up your thumb, look at it. That's about the size on the screen you want a thumbnail image, right? So that's a reasonable height and width to go with as a default, but you can always, when you call this, pass different values in for that and away you go. Now, okay, um, just a note here, if the image is smaller, we're not going to enlarge it, right? If it's already smaller than what we're asking it to shrink it to, it'll just come back exactly the same, except if it wasn't in the WebP format, it now will be, right? Now, this is of max height and max width. Okay, important to talk about that for a moment because we aren't going to change the aspect ratio, right? We don't want pictures of skinny people looking suddenly fat because we stretched the image wider, or vice versa, right? We're going to leave the aspect ratio the same. That's why we're using maximum values for height and width. So, if it's a tall, skinny picture, right, then it's going to be the height will be the defining constraint, right? If it's a wide picture, then the maximum width, okay, would be the constraint that's going to come into play, right? So we're going to maintain aspect ratio. So we can just simply we pass the byte array, okay, as the original image, and this just returns a new byte array, right, with the data for the image, okay, which we can then store in our blob in the database. So that's basically the one we're going to use for the most part. Now, I'm including this other code just for future use mostly, in case you want to do other things. Sometimes, you're going to create an app, say, for an insurance adjuster. He's going to take photographs of damage to a car. Well, they need it, the original image size and quality, perhaps, or to a certain standardized size that they want, things like that, right? So you might have other requirements at different points in the future. So what I've done is I've set up a different method here, giving you all the options you might want, right? And I decided to create a view model. Now I know we normally put our view model objects inside of the view models folder, but this one is so dedicated to use here just with this method that I'm going to leave it right here, okay? A view model uses a return type for shrink image, right? It will contain two things, the byte array and the MIME type. I found it easier to do it this way because this is going to provide us the easy option of choosing what image format we want, okay, what MIME type, okay? Other than that, it works basically the same. We pass in the original image or max height or max width, right? And then we can pass in a selected format. So if I want a PNG instead, then I can use this, right? Or if I want a different quality, maybe I don't want the default of 100% quality. Maybe I'm okay to cut it down to 90% and reduce, the size of the image a little bit, the storage for the image and things like that, right? Well, this is just the same method as above, just with more options available, right? And so we pass in the original image, our values for max height and width, okay, a selected format, and we have an enumeration, right? So if I just back out of this for a second, hit the dot, right? You can see all the different formats you have here. Everything, of course, familiar things like JPEG and HEIF. You might have worked with before, PNG files, and so on and so forth. There's lots of them, right? GIFs, et cetera, icon. Okay, but of course in here is WebP. That's one that I'm going to set as a default. So if you want that, you don't have to specify otherwise. And the quality I'm going to set as a default to 100. All right, so that's just there in case you ever want to have the additional options set up. Now, I know some students are going to be very curious how this works inside. Okay, but don't worry about it. All we need to know is that we can call this tool and away you go. But to just quickly talk about it, right? You see there's a bunch of math calculating it based on, how we're going to scale it based on the height and the width and then the max values we're using and so on. And without getting too much in the details, this surface business, think of it this way in layman's terms, that basically the tool is going to create this virtual canvas. It's going to take the picture you've uploaded and the canvas will be a certain size, right? The size that we specify. So it'll take the image we've uploaded and redraw that image on this specific canvas, right? And when it's done, right, then it will take a snapshot of the canvas, click, click, right? And then it will encode it in whatever format with whatever quality that we want, right? That's where those parameters come into play. The selected format we've asked for, and then the quality, 100% or whatever the numerical value is, right? And then when it's done, okay, we create our image view model object here, right? We just grab the array of the data. That's our content. That's our byte array. And then for the MIME type, okay, we set it up with the appropriate switch, right? The appropriate value from our switch here. So there we go. Notice it's set as a default would be JPEG, which is okay. That's just how they wrote it. So I'm going to stick with that. And then we just return this image view model object at the end. So if you really want to study more about how this all works, feel free. But as I said, as long as it works for us, I can drive the car. I know how to do it, right? Okay. So and this is the one I'm going to be using mostly anyway, because I always want a WebP. I always wanted 100%. So it's really just deciding how big I'm going to store it. That's the end of the story on ResizeImage. Any questions about that before we start actually using it now in step 15? Okay, well, I'm just going to stop and start just to break up the recording.